High Definition News for Wednesday, September 16th, 2015. I'm Jeff Kaufman. You are waking up in a Wild West, reeling from a couple of sucker punches from Mother Nature. In Long Beach, in the foothills of the San Gabriel Mountains, along the 91 freeway in Riverside County, and along the Utah-Arizona border, too much rain too quickly has left death, destruction, and danger in its wake. Let's begin in Long Beach. That's where the Los Angeles River empties into the sea, but most of the time you'd hardly know it. The concrete channel is mostly dry, but when it rains, the river has a job to do. It's the primary drainage channel for all of the LA basin. After this week's rain, the LA River is roaring. In fact, Long Beach firefighters rescued 3 people and a dog from the river near the Willow Street overpass yesterday morning. They're fine. But the swift water is not the only danger in the river this morning. It's also contaminated. A 24-inch pipeline carrying wastewater broke open yesterday up the river in San Gabriel and dumped 250,000 gallons of raw sewage that flowed straight to Long Beach. The city's health officer, Dr. Mitchell Kushner, ordered the beaches closed till further notice and told Channel 11 why.
We advise folks not to go swimming in the ocean and to pay attention to the advisories because there's a potential for people to become ill after contacting the water if there's a high degree of bacteria, and then with the sewage spill there may be viruses in the water, so we want to stay away from the water for at least 72 hours.
Even without a sewage spill, the river is full of crap after a big storm. Anthony Farr sees it from his post at the Harbor Lights Yacht Club.
I found full Christmas trees, mattresses, you name it, I've seen it in the water. I get trapped in here because of the angle of the marina. It's actually in a cove, so it gets in here and then it can't leave.
Back in San Gabriel, the LA River has undermined at least one home. It's been red tagged because authorities are afraid it might topple over into the river. The pounding rain Monday night also severely damaged a portion of the 91 freeway in Corona. Standing water eroded about 50 yards of roadbed near Green River Drive. The CHP has closed the 2 right-hand westbound lanes, while Caltrans does a quick repair job, and all of that is causing a backup that at times has stretched 8 miles. Your alternate routes are the 60 or Interstate 10. 2 days after the flash floods in southern Utah, we are finally getting a complete picture of what happened.
That van! Oh dear, there's 2 vehicles! Oh no, there's 2 vehicles!
Residents in the small town of Hilldale, near the Arizona border, watching a flash flood carry 2 vehicles past their front door on Monday afternoon. Even emergency responders could do little to help.
As she opens her door, she believes that it is going to be flooded over, so she is still in the vehicle.
You're still in contact with her, just to be safe. We'll have her get out of the vehicle so she doesn't get swept away.
There goes the van! Oh my goodness! Oh dear, it went over the thing! Oh no, there goes the other van! Holy sh**!
Hilldale's mayor, Philip Harlow, told CBS News the floodwaters rose too quickly for the drivers of those cars to react.
I've never seen anything like this. It actually came around behind the vehicles and engulfed the vehicles and washed them down into the creek bed.
Yvonne Holm lives in Hilldale, saw what happened, and tried to help.
The little boy was standing there that had got out, and he said, "Are you going to help me and my mother?" And I'm like, "Yeah." "Are you the only one that got out?" And he's like, "Yeah." So me and my little brother ran over by the bank. Anyways, the vans were right there, and it was like halfway full of sand, up to the windows full of sand, and they ripped up the airbags and cut them up and pulled it open, and like arms and legs just hung out, and they're like, "Yeah, there's not a pulse." So I still didn't know who it was, but I knew him somehow because they were from here.
There were 16 women and children in those 2 cars. 3 kids survived. Some of the bodies of those killed were washed 2 miles downstream. Rescuers are still searching for 1 missing person. A few miles away in Zion National Park, the rain turned into a flash flood last evening in Keyhole Canyon. 4 hikers were killed, 3 are still missing. Cody Self was also hiking in Zion yesterday.
5 minutes of the most intense blow-in storm I've ever seen.
50 miles west of Sacramento, the Valley Fire is still burning. There has still been only 1 fatality, an elderly woman with MS who was found in her home 2 days ago. But 13,000 people have been evacuated, and after burning 585 homes, the fire now threatens about 9,000 structures. Firefighters say they are making progress, and the fire is burning away from populated areas. 70,000 acres have burned so far. The Valley Fire, 30% contained. Long Beach has confirmed its first case of West Nile virus this year, but there's no word on where the patient contracted the virus or his or her condition. One person has died of West Nile this year in LA County. There have been 123 cases of West Nile virus in 23 California counties this year. The disease is spread by mosquitoes. The best way to keep them away is to remove standing water. We are hearing for the first time from the woman who survived the shooting that killed 2 journalists on live TV last month in Virginia. Reporter Allison Parker and photographer Adam Ward of WDBJ-TV in Lynchburg were shot to death while they were doing a live interview with Chamber of Commerce executive Vicki Gardner. Gardner was shot too, and as she told Fox News Channel last night in her first interview since being released from the hospital, she knew the gunman, a former WDBJ reporter, was still standing over her, not saying a word.
I realized it was quiet and everybody was down, and I didn't know where he was. I felt as though the next shot, I knew the next shot he was just going to shoot me in the head because that was what he was doing. And it didn't fire or whatever. He shot me in the back, and I was waiting for him to shoot me in the head. When he shot me in the back, I said, I'm going to be paralyzed, darn. And then I waited, and then I said, and it goes real quick. They say, oh, your mind, world goes in front of you. And it did real fast, and I said, I'm ready. I'm ready. So I was really very much at ease had it happen. I felt, I didn't want it. No. But I wasn't in like an, oh my gosh. It just went through, and I said, I've had a good life. And that was that. And then it didn't. And so I'm happy to be here.
Surgeons removed one of Gardner's kidneys and part of her colon. The gunman, Vester Flanagan, led police on a high-speed chase and then shot himself to death a couple of hours after killing Parker and Ward and wounding Gardner. Parker's boyfriend, WDBJ anchor Chris Hurst, returned to the air last night for the first time since the shootings. All eyes on Simi Valley in about 6 hours. The second Republican presidential candidates debate takes place at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library. It's a safe bet that the candidates will waste no time breaking Reagan's famous 11th commandment, thou shalt speak no ill of another Republican. The mini-debate for candidates with the lowest poll numbers begins at 3 p.m. Pacific Time. Donald Trump, Ben Carson, Carly Fiorina, and the others who qualified for the grown-ups table take the stage at 5 p.m., all live on CNN with Jake Tapper moderating. Donald Trump has been in Southern California since yesterday when he gave what was billed in advance as a major national security speech aboard the USS Iowa in San Pedro. As usual, Trump was long on broad themes, short on policy specifics.
We're going to be building up our military. We're going to make our military so big and so strong and so great. And it will be so powerful that I don't think we're ever going to have to use it. Nobody's going to mess with us. That I can tell you. And we're going to have a president who's respected by Putin, who's respected by Iran.
Trump also delivered his standard stump lines on undocumented immigrants, which angered a small group of protesters near the Iowa who told Channel 4 Trump is spreading hate.
Trump is a racist. He's not a nice human being.
Here's some catch-up for your Wednesday breakfast. This is some of what might have got past you since yesterday. Fire and rain, sewage, and hot air from presidential wannabes. We Americans have had a lot on our plate these past few weeks. But a large portion of the rest of the world has been focused on the tide of humanity washing ashore in Europe. They are on the run from terrorism and war in North Africa and the Middle East. Hundreds of thousands of refugees have crossed the Mediterranean in boats and rafts not fit for ocean going. Thousands have drowned when their boats capsized or smashed onto rocks. One of them, a little boy from Syria, became the face of the refugee crisis a couple of weeks ago when a picture of his body on a Turkish beach ricocheted around the world. Alan Kurdi held the world's attention for a moment, then it was back to business as usual. European governments squabble over how many refugees to let in, which countries should pay, and which countries should be paid for taking care of them. And still they come. Many of the refugees are from Syria, where the group that calls itself Islamic State is in a fight to the death with the forces of dictator Bashir Assad in a war in which there are no good guys. Since the photo of the little boy went viral, many Syrian refugees have refused to get on those rickety boats and now try to get to Europe overland through Turkey. They camp out in fields, in train stations, along highways. Loué escaped from Damascus a year ago and made it across the border to Turkey. He's been trying to cross into Greece, but that border is sealed shut. He told CBS News he cannot earn enough in Turkey to survive.
Tell the world, please, where is your humanity? Every one of us is going to try to go and have the life we deserve. I'm a human.
It's no easier for the refugees who have made it to Europe. In Serbia, thousands of Syrian refugees dream of settling in Germany, where Chancellor Angela Merkel has called the refugee situation a humanitarian emergency. Last week, the Chancellor posed for a selfie with a Syrian refugee. But to get to Germany, the refugees in Serbia have to cross through Hungary, which this week built a wall along its border with Serbia and made it a crime to cross it. Hundreds of Syrian refugees sit and wait. Atif is one of them.
What happened here, I will wait. Hungary opens the door. This only chance for us.
President Obama said yesterday the U.S. will step up and take in some of the Syrian refugees. Next week, European leaders will meet for a second time to try to come to an agreement on how many refugees each country will admit, and whether the richer countries of Western Europe will help subsidize the cost of dealing with the never-ending tide of humanity washing ashore in the poorer countries of Central and Southern Europe. There's a 14-year-old kid in the Dallas suburb of Irving who's like a lot of 14-year-old boys, likes to tinker with electronics, play around with circuit boards, build stuff.
My hobby is to invent stuff, and I do a lot of stuff. For example, inventing Transformers. You get what I'm saying here. But I made a clock. It was a digital clock, and the digital display had four number lines on it. A number line of hour and a number line of minutes.
He picked up one of those $5 lunch boxes that looked like a mini briefcase to put his homemade electronic clock in, and then took it with him to MacArthur High School to show one of his teachers. That teacher was impressed, but warned him not to show the clock to anybody else. But next period, the clock beeped during class. The teacher asked to see it, and though he showed it to her and told her it was a clock, the teacher said it kind of looked like a bomb. She did not call the police or the bomb squad, and she did not tell her students to take cover. But she did keep the clock. She put it in her bottom desk drawer. A little while later,
an officer and the principal came and took me up, and they took me to a room filled with 5 officers, which they interrogated me and searched through my stuff and took my tablet and my invention. And then later that day, I was taken to a juvenile center detention center where they searched me. They took a fingerprint and mugshots of me, and they searched me until my parents came, and then I got to leave the building and the station. And I went home and talked to my parents about it because I couldn't call my parents during the interrogation.
Before he was taken to the police station, when he walked into the principal's office, one of the officers waiting there took one look at the kid and said, "Yep, that's who I thought it was." Then they interrogated him without his parents present, without an attorney, without even a phone call to mom and dad. Then they booked him. The thing is, everybody, principal, cops, everybody agrees the thing the kid built is in no way a bomb. But they told him they're considering charging him with a crime anyway. What crime? Making a
movie bomb, which is what they were charging me of. It made me feel like I wasn't human. It made me feel like a criminal.
They let the kid out after a couple of hours. He has not been back to school because the principal suspended him. He missed a student council meeting. His parents are outraged and considering a lawsuit. The DA is still considering criminal charges. Did we mention? The 14-year-old's name is Ahmed Mohammed, which in the land of the free and the home of the brave, Texas Division, might be his only crime. Now you know what we know. I'm Jeff Kaufman, High Definition News.